Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you had a great 4th of July holiday weekend. We got some great weather up here in New Hampshire. Spent some time up in Laconia at the in-laws and out on the lake and on the beach and that sort of thing. Training plan was a little bit scattered and kind of all over the place just due to the travel time and the days off work, but we got it done. I was going to kind of walk you through my training this week and talk a little bit about training and parenting and just kind of making that work, and then show you some footage of my run along. Most of this run is along the Dover Community Trail. Because of the black flies, I had to pop off of the trail up into the parking lot of an industrial complex and then finished, through town. So great week of training. As of this recording, I'm doing the recording on Sunday here, I got just over 50 miles in for the week, which I've just kind of been progressing and kind of increasing that mileage week to week here over the past few weeks. It was a nice week because I got to focus more on the aerobic work, and I did not have like a dedicated workout day that I've had the prior 2 weeks on Tuesdays, where I've done some hill work and that sort of thing. So still incorporated some strides just to get a little bit of that in, but didn't have a dedicated workout this week. So kind of slowed the pace down, just focus on getting some time on feet, and it was a lot of fun. So Monday and Tuesday, both of those days, I got around 7 miles in for each of those runs with some strides mixed in. Because of the travel, I plan to do my first long run on Thursday. So on Wednesday, I did some strength work. I didn't really do any running that day. And then on Thursday, I went out to the same trail to Vaughan Woods that I showed you guys in the last video. I got 17 miles in with 3,000 feet of elevation gain, which I was really happy with. A lot of work to get that done, and just the weather was all over the place. Started out hot, then it started raining, then it got humid after it stopped raining. So happy with that. We ended up traveling to Laconia that night. And then the next day, on Friday morning, I woke up and got around 8.5 miles in along the Laconia rail trail, which was a lot of fun. I had never run on that before. A lot of that trail runs along the Lake Winnisquam. So really pretty views. The weather was really nice and cool that morning. So great run. And then later that day, I went out with Sarah, my wife, on Friday. Got in another 3.5 miles just to get some extra time on feet and share some miles with her, which I always love to do. And she's training for a 50K in October. So that was a lot of fun. We ran in Ahern State Park, which also runs along Winnisquam, which was a lot of fun. And then Saturday, which is this run here, I got in about 7 miles. Just exactly 7 miles to bring me to 50 miles total for the week. So this was mostly an easy run, got some strides in, and finished at a little bit of a quicker pace because I found out they were doing fireworks. So I wanted to get back and see the town fireworks, which I'll show you at the end of the video, but we found out we just bought our house last year, and from our deck, we've got like a prime time view of the fireworks, which I'll show you guys at the end of the video. But really happy with this week. I also got my strength work in and that sort of thing. I'm feeling really strong. Legs are feeling really good. And it feels really good to put the work in and get it done and see the results. So really happy with that. I'm excited to kind of get back to the workouts this coming week. And I am training also, in addition to Bubba's in October, I want to get a big effort in, probably about 4 or 5 weeks out from Bubba's. So a buddy and I are planning on a big adventure in the Whites. Right now, tentatively, we're scheduling to do the Hut to Hut Traverse, which traverses all the trails in the Whites that go past the high mountain huts, which would be really fun. That's about 50 miles and quite a bit of elevation gain. So talk a little bit about that, a little more about that in the future, but focusing on that as well. And yeah, really looking forward to that. Going to do that with my buddy Mike, who will also be running in Bubba's. So hopefully looking to get that in. If for some reason we can't make that work, then I'll make sure to get something in that week, just stacking distance and that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, you can kind of see here. I'll let it run here for a second so you can kind of just see the run along the path here. But love this path. It's really nice to be able to just kind of hop on this and get some miles in. I'm just so familiar with these paths and different, quieter areas around Dover. So it's nice to kind of piece some of those together and just get a nice run in. So, with this training week being a little bit all over the place with the holiday and travel and Maeve's daycare schedule and that sort of thing, I thought it'd be cool to just kind of share my experience with training and parenting. I by no means have all the answers, nor am I trying to push this on anyone. But I know that as a new parent, prior to Maeve being born a couple years ago, I was really worried about what this hobby would look like for me and was just trying to get some information from others that were experiencing the same thing, that were new parents, and kind of what they were doing. So I thought maybe this would be helpful for others that might be having some of those feelings and that sort of thing. So the first thing is just kind of making the most of your time and being as efficient as possible as you can with the time that you have. I have the privilege of working remotely full time. And I use that to, get in most of my weekday runs on my lunch hour. So, Maeve's at daycare, Sarah's working. So I'm getting those training runs in during the week, like during that lunch hour. That lets me take as little time as possible away from my family. Maeve and Sarah are the two most important people in my life, and I want to take as little time away from them as possible for my own personal hobbies and goals. But I also think it's important for me to get these things in because I feel that I'm a better husband and a better father when I am, working on my mental and physical fitness and taking care of myself. So just making the most of the time that I have. I haven't had to do it yet in this training block, but it will be coming up soon. After, Maeve is asleep and Sarah's asleep as well, I might get in some long night runs, and that's probably not recommended as much for, getting good sleep in, but it is great practice for, these races and these big events where you're going to be running through the night, just running on a tired mind and tired body, and getting in some of those night miles. So that's the first bit of advice, is just kind of making the most of the time that you have. I think the second thing for me was just kind of learning to not put so much pressure on myself. These training plans call for different things at certain times. And like you can see this week, and like I've talked through here, I really just kind of had to make it work where I could. And I didn't feel bad about not getting it done on a certain day just because the calendar said I had to get it done on that day. Putting too much pressure on myself in that way can kind of push me away from wanting to do it if I feel that I'm failing in some way. So I just kind of had to accept, like, hey, there's going to be times where we're not going to be able to make it work, even if it's on the calendar. Maeve might get sick, or we might have something going on with the house, or, car trouble. I got to get the car, whatever it may be. Just kind of understanding that life happens and you just got to make it work around that the best that you can. And the best that you can do is all that you can do. So that's a big thing for me as well. And then the next thing is planning. With Sarah and I having so much for ourselves on our calendars, and then for Maeve, it's just extremely important for me to keep her in the loop on what my training is going to look like. After I had put together my 16-week block in an Excel file, we sat down on the couch. I just kind of walked her through week by week what that was going to look like. And for some of those bigger efforts, like I mentioned in the whites that I'm planning, whatever it may be, where I can't get them in during a lunch hour at work or after they've gone to sleep for the night, it's going to take a bit more time. It just helps to kind of plan for that together. Maybe that's a weekend we stay with her parents, or she has a friend over to help out if needed. Whatever it may be, I think just planning ahead can be a huge help to everyone involved. So lastly, I would say just making it a family affair and making it fun for the family. At the end of the day, so much of why I do this is to, inspire my daughter and be a better husband, be a better father. And so when I can, getting Maeve in the stroller, getting some miles in if she's up for it. She's the past year or so is more so been wanting to be on her own feet, her own 2 feet, and participating, but she's warming back up to riding along in the stroller. And then getting miles when I can with Sarah as well. I just love spending that time together, laughing and talking through things while we're running. And that's a lot of fun for both of us. So yeah, those are just a few takeaways for me with parenting and training, and how I've personally made that work and what my experience has been. Again, I don't have all the answers, but I think and I hope that this can be helpful for others. That is week 3 of the training block. I hope you guys enjoyed following along for this run. I know it wasn't all on the trails. A lot of this was around my neighborhood, but you got to see my daughter's favorite fire station and some of my neighborhood and the community trails. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you at the end of week 4.